have ongoing negotiations in Iran and with Iran, and that hasn't stopped. And we could have at least an idea by 1 or 2 days from now, but I think it's going well. The blockade continues to hold 100%. Nothing is getting through our blockade.
Okay, Trey Yinks now, the latest from Tel Aviv as we get up to speed on what's happening thus far today. Trey, hello there.
Yeah, hey, Bill, good morning. We are tracking a major development. A U.S. Apache helicopter went down near the Strait of Hormuz on Monday. CENTCOM released a statement saying, in part, quote, the soldiers were safely rescued within approximately 2 hours and are in stable condition. The cause of the incident is under investigation. CENTCOM spokesman Captain Tim Hawkins confirmed to Fox News that the U.S. crew members were rescued by an unmanned surface vehicle, a sea drone. This was an operational first for the U.S. military, Hawkins told Fox News. Now, it's not clear if the gunship went down due to enemy fire or a mechanical issue, but it does come as the ceasefire with Iran is holding again, and the region braces for what comes next. President Trump spoke after attending Game 3 of the Knicks-Spurs finals. He indicated that negotiations toward a deal are ongoing, and we could have a better idea of where things stand in the days ahead. The president also discussed his call with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu after the exchange of fire over the weekend.
We had a very good conversation, and he was hit, and he hit back, and I can't blame him for that, but he was hit, he hit back, and now they've called it quits, so they're going to just leave each other alone for another week or something.
After President Trump called on Israel and Iran to stop shooting, both sides agreed. Since then, Israel has continued to operate against Iran-backed Hezbollah in Lebanon, launching new strikes overnight and issuing fresh evacuation orders this morning. Prime Minister Netanyahu addressed his country overnight with a message about Hezbollah. With questions about if the ceasefire could be broken again, international attention remains on the Strait of Hormuz, where the U.S. naval blockade of Iranian ports is expected to continue. CENTCOM says U.S. forces disabled an unladen oil tanker in the Gulf of Oman on Monday after it tried to breach the blockade. An F-A-18 Super Hornet from the USS Abraham Lincoln fired a precision munition into the ship's engineering and steering rooms. Since the blockade went into effect, 134 vessels have been turned around, 7 of them disabled.
Well,
Bill?
Trey, by all accounts, Iran's economy is a mess and it's hurting more and more by the day. That notwithstanding, does Tehran feel it's emboldened the longer this resistance continues?
The short answer is yes, but the reality is quite different. The Iranian regime is suffering economically as a result of the U.S. naval blockade. We know Iranian exports across the board are down about 90%. They're extracting crude oil at a 50% rate. These numbers are indications that the regime is suffering domestically, and as this blockade continues, as does the internal domestic pressure against those officials in Tehran to make a deal before the region would return to some sort of combat operation.
Wow. Bring in Robert Greenway, former NSC Deputy Assistant under President Trump. Thank you so much for being here. J.D. Vance was on with Jesse Waters last night talking about negotiations. Watch here.
I don't assume that anybody's acting in good faith. Obviously, we've been very involved in these negotiations, Jesse. We're going to take the attitude of accomplish the president's mission. The Iranians don't want this war to continue. It's not in their best interest. And I think they're coming to the table, putting some real things on the table. We're, of course, going to verify it. But if we get to this deal, it's going to be a home run win for the American people.
Let's talk about what Trey said, that the reality for the Iranians is domestically they are hurting. But how much are they willing to bear while we wait for them to come to the table?
That's great to be with you, Dana. Look, I think the problem is twofold, but the solution is either going to come from diplomatic means, which obviously the president, vice president, and the team would prefer heading into the midterm election with shipping prices up 109% for containers and fuel up 50%. The reality is, I think it's going to require yet more application of military force. There are two problems. There isn't really a negotiating partner on the Iranian side that is willing or able. 10 Iranian violations since the ceasefire on the 16th. There have been 5,500 rockets fired by Hezbollah since the ceasefire on the 8th. And under those conditions, I don't think they'd honor the terms, however agreed upon. And in the end, I think it's going to be the elimination of the capability that's required.
You said the real issue is Iran sincere about making a deal? It seems like every time we get close, no deal. And why is that? Because I think the people really in charge don't want to deal, or they want a deal that are terms that are completely unacceptable to the president. So is there anything that you think that the United States can do, short of military action, that would get them to where the president wants to be?
Well, I think General Keene's comments are exactly right. I think they are playing for time. The midterm, they think, applies unique pressure against the president. I think their calculations are wrong because their economy is essentially dead. We're just waiting for the funeral to be announced. And that, of course, puts pressure on what's left of the political leadership. And the IRGC are fragmented, and I don't think they're in charge entirely of the Iranian system. So I do think that the president's right to achieve a diplomatic breakthrough. I don't know that it'll be a breakthrough, but it might allow for a slight alleviation of the pressures and the economic difficulties. But ultimately, I think there's probably only one answer we're headed to eliminate the Iranian threat once and for all.
I keep looking at all those little dots, and they haven't changed very much at all in the last 90 days. And I wonder, I've always been so concerned about the people who are on those ships, the innocent people who are caught in the middle and trying to get back to their families. They're running out of resources, supplies. They're trying to get some back and forth. Any word on what the rest of the world is feeling as we try to get this to a conclusion?
Well, you're right, but there's a huge constellation of support network out there providing resources to ships that are now stranded. What the reality is, those dots don't change much, but a lot of them are turning off the signal that shows up and manifests in a dot, the AIS signal. And more ships every day are transiting through, thanks to the work that CENTCOM has done at the direction of the president. So there is now real quantities of oil that are transiting through.
Okay.
Of course, that's not Iranian oil, it's U.S.
President Trump is still pushing for a deal with Iran and says we could have an idea of the potential agreement in the coming days. And it comes as Israel continues to hammer Hezbollah in Lebanon, carrying out strikes just in the last hour. Aisha Hasni is live at the White House with the latest. Hey, Aisha.
Hey, good morning to you, Brian. And when we talk about a potential deadline, that deadline could be in a number of days because the president, on his way back from the Knicks game late last night, told reporters that he will know, he'll have some sort of an idea of where these talks are going in just 1 to 2 days. Watch.
We have ongoing negotiations in Iran and with Iran, and that hasn't stopped. And we could have at least an idea by 1 or 2 days from now. We're very close to having a very, very good, strong, powerful deal. If we do the bombing, a lot of people are going to be killed. Who wants to do that? I don't. And we'll have a signed document that's actually stronger than doing the bombing.
So this morning, CENTCOM gave an update on those two helicopter crew members that were lost at sea. Apache crew members were told that they were rescued by American forces after their helicopter went down near the coast of Oman while patrolling regional waters. The soldiers were safely rescued within approximately 2 hours, are in stable condition. The cause of the incident still under investigation, according to CENTCOM. Meanwhile, the president is still trying to cool tensions between Iran and Israel after an exchange of fire this week. The Israelis are downplaying any friction between Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, likening it to a lover's quarrel. And it comes after Trump reportedly told Axios that he warned Netanyahu that if he went back to war with Iran, he might find himself fighting alone. Vice President J.D. Vance telling Jesse Waters last night that the Iranians